Hello and welcome to Plugin of the Day. In today's video we're going to be checking out a channel strip by Analogue Obsession, and it's Loaded. Okay, so I am in Reaper. This is Loaded, and Loaded is a really nice channel strip. As you can see, we have a preamp, we have a de-esser, a gate, an equalizer, a compressor and a main out, stereo out. So everything you would expect to find on a general channel strip. Now I have got the source material is on a drum bus. You could put this on a single channel, of course. I wanted to test its capabilities on something that is as expansive and dynamic as a drum kit. So putting it on the drum bus made sense. We will see how it handles all the intricacies of a drum kit. So moving forward, we're going to start with the preamp and we're going to go through its different phases. I'll quickly explain what is on here. So this is the in and out button. Then we have a pad, and for those of you that don't know what a pad is, a pad will pad the volume, so it will take away some of the potency of the volume. Phase will do as it suggests, it will put things in phase, where with a drum kit you're very likely to find that there will be phase going on purely because you've got a lot of different sound sources with lots of mics within a fairly closed environment. When that happens, physics dictates that sound sources that close together of different varieties will conflict. And when they conflict with each other, you're going to find that they create what we call phase, and that can actually take away from the potency of a mix, for instance. So we'll listen out for that when I enact the button to see what difference it makes to the sound of the drum kit. Obviously we have the gain here, so we can push gain. So if we put the pad on especially and we push the gain quite high up, you'll find that it will saturate the sound more. So that could be something we could use as an effect. Then we have high pass filter and mic, okay, and high pass will take away from the low end, and the more we push this knob right up to 250 Hertz, we can cut that right out if we so wished. And then below we have this transistor here, and this is, as opposed to what a pad would do, this is adding gain. But this is low end gain and this is high end gain. So we'll have a look at what all these do now as we check the preamp out. Okay, so we are now going to move on to the de-esser here. What is a de-esser? Well, a de-esser is a kind of compressor that is specially formulated to take away that kind of sound. So plosives, explosive sounds that might come from either a vocal or possibly high and shrill in a drum kit. So if you have cymbals in a mix that are a little bit too piercing to the ear, or maybe clouding judgment in the high end, so other sources can actually be heard within the high end, and maybe the cymbals a little bit too loud, or the overheads, and they just need taming a little bit, a de-esser can do a very good job of that. So once I push this threshold knob and I instantiate the de-esser, I want you to listen out for the high end of the sound source, so the high end of the drums and the cymbals in particular. And the more I push this, see how it just slightly dampens that high shrill sound. Within the context of a mix, obviously this is just a drum kit, but within a mix that could open up space for other sources to come in and have an effect on that overall mix. Let's have a look at the de-esser. Okay, so we're going to move on to the gate now. A gate will cut off sound sources at a particular frequency, also at a release point. So it's a little bit like a compressor in that respect. Usually a gate might be used primarily probably on things like drums, where you might want to stop some bleed or the effect of bleed, or you may want to use a reverb of your own, third party one, outside of the actual drum section itself. So when it comes to mixing, you may want to use a third party plugin or hardware if you have reverb. In this case, we're going to check out how it does and how you can use it as a special effect as well. So almost like a kind of stutter effect. On a drum kit, that will certainly come into play if we push the threshold quite hard. So let's have a look at the gate. If you're enjoying watching this video, please consider smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel so that I can keep on bringing this free content. Okay, so we're going to move on to the equalizer now. Now this is a pretty substantial equalizer. We'll quickly have a look through the settings. So we've got the in button here to put it on so we can use it. Then we've got a low frequency adjuster, and this is purely just to push 100 Hertz. So that is the frequency you're pushing or cutting. Then we have low mids from 220 to 1.2K, and you can push or cut that. We have high mid frequencies from 1.5K to 8.2K. Again, we can push or cut. And then as with the low end, we have a push or cut only at 10K. And these will be shelves, what we call shelves. They won't be bell like EQ curves like these will be here. Okay, the high frequency and the low frequency will be shelving EQ curves. So let's have a look at what it can do. Okay, so we have moved on to the compressor now. We are going to have a look at its functions. We have a fast attack, an automatic release if we so wish, and normally on drums on this particular compressor I would usually use the automatic release just for ease of function. This is the in button so that we can instantiate the compressor. This is our threshold for the amount of compression going on. We also have a ratio here, and then we have two filters. We have a sidechain filter for within the plugin, and then an external sidechain. So if we want to, and I won't be doing this on this video, but if you wanted to match it with, say, a bass guitar or bass synth, and have the drums, or if you had it on a, if you had this channel strip only on a kick drum and you wanted to cut the bass out while the kick was hitting, then you could use this button here to activate that. Ratio button, knob as I discussed earlier, and then the mix knob. So now we've had a look at the functions of this compressor. Let's have a listen to it. Okay, and so we have got to the final part of this plugin, the loaded plugin by Analogue Obsession, and that is the main control of a stereo out. So we only have two knobs and one button. So we have an in knob to put it in so we can use it, and then an input and an output. So obviously the more we push the input, we're probably going to want to lower the output, probably to the same amount but in opposite directions, or possibly not, depending on what effect you want and how hot you want the signal to be. We're going to play around with it and just see what we can do with it. So let's check it out. So my final thoughts on this plugin. If you're on the market for a channel strip that is detailed and does a fantastic job, I think you should seriously be looking at this particular plugin. And for the great price of free, yes, it's a free plugin, although it is also donationware, and if you're able to donate to Analogue Obsession, I'm sure they would appreciate that. Essentially, this is a free plugin. It is fantastic. As you've heard in the video, I can't fault it at all. It does what it says on the tin. Best places to put it would be on a single track or on a bus section that covers a section of tracks like the drums, as I had it in this video, or maybe guitars, bass, vocals, that kind of thing, but I wouldn't put it on an overall mix bus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Sabs out.